breaking news, the Calgary Flames have finally traded Jacob Markstrom, and as predicted, he has gone to the New Jersey Devils. We finally have an end to the Jacob Markstrom trade rumor saga, thank goodness. In this video, we're going to do a little deep dive analysis of the return for Calgary and maybe what it means for the team in the future. But first, I want to welcome you to Flames Digest. I am Mark Griffith. If you're new around here and you love the Flames, make sure you subscribe so you can stay up to date on all the latest news, updates, reports, and rumors revolving around your Calgary Flames. We would love to welcome you to the Flames Digest family. And yes, we got a crazy one here for you today as the Flames finally do trade Jacob Markstrom. It has been months and months that this guy's name has been running rampant in the trade rumor mill. Ever since before the trade deadline, his name has gone through the mud. And Markstrom, I hope he is happy. Genuinely, he really did deserve a trade out of here. The way he was treated and just kind of his feelings towards the management and maybe the ownership at this point. I'm glad he's no longer here. If he didn't want to be in Calgary, I'm glad he has got to move on. And my goodness, the amount of just hours that I have spewed Markstrom trade rumor talk on this channel, we can finally say he has been traded and kind of lay it to rest. That being said, there is still a lot to talk about when it comes to this trade. So if you missed it, here is the trade itself. So of course, Calgary sent Jacob Markstrom to the New Jersey Devils. Finally, Tom Fitzgerald got the goalie he's been looking for. And the Flames, they get a 2025 first round pick and Kevin Ball, not to be mistaken with a 2024 first round pick, which would have been the 10th overall pick this season. I know a lot of people were hoping that was going to be the case, but this is a 2025 first round pick. I know a lot of people, when they originally saw this trade, said, yes, we traded away Markstrom, we got the 10th overall pick, and it wasn't just a 1-for-1. We also got Kevin Ball, a young defenseman. No, this is a 2025 first round pick, and there will be a little bit more to talk about in terms of what that 2025 first round pick means. So let's dive into the return for Calgary here. And at first glance, I gotta be honest, it's a little bit underwhelming. You know, knowing that that isn't the 10th overall pick this year, it's underwhelming, and I'm a little bit disappointed. This trade, there's a lot of people calling for the head of Craig Conroy. When I originally saw the return package, I was in that boat saying, when can we get a trade where we are blown away with, you know, the return? The Vancouver trade for Elias Lindholm was the closest we kind of came to that, when we got a lot back for Lindholm, but still not an absolute home run. At least it's too early to tell for that one. This one was definitely not the case. It looked like New Jersey had won this trade at the very beginning. But if we dive into here, some of the conditions of this trade. So the trade details, of course, Markstrom to New Jersey, that's finalized. The Flames get the 2025 first round pick and Kevin Ball, but the Flames are retaining 30% on Markstrom. I think it actually might be a little bit over that. And they're knocking Markstrom down to just $4 million a season for New Jersey. Calgary, of course, avoids the July 1st SB. And this pick, though, this 2025 first round pick, is top 10 protected, which means, I mean, most of us know what it means, but for those who don't, if the New Jersey Devils fall in the bottom 10 of the league, or at least get a top 10 pick, they will keep that pick. And then the Flames, I assume, it hasn't quite come out yet, but I would assume they are receiving the first round pick for the next season. And Markstrom did, of course, have to waive his no trade clause officially this time for New Jersey. It would be kind of hilarious if he did waive his no movement clause twice for the same team and then ending up there anyway. But, you know, upon first glance, the Flames, they retained some salary here, and they didn't get, you know, a better pick, such as this year's first rounder, or even, you know, throwing in another high round pick, maybe a second round pick or a third round pick. And it's disappointing. It really is disappointing. But before we focus on what we could have had, let's get more into just the downright return for Calgary. So we know we probably have a 2025 first round pick. I can't imagine the Devils will have as bad of a season as they did this year, next year. So assume that they will be a little bit better. I mean, that's what they're assuming they'll have in Jacob Markstrom. And it seems like whenever the Flames trade away one of their players, those players go on to have some great playoff runs. Look at Matthew Tkachuk right now. Maybe that will be Jacob Markstrom next year. But let's just hop into Kevin Ball. Let's talk about him, the player involved for the Flames. So these were his stats this past season. As you can see here, he's a big boy, 6'6". He's still only 23, but of course will be 24 by the time next season starts. Doesn't really chip in offensively too much, but that is not his game. He is a defensive shutdown man. I mean, when you're that big, that is kind of what you would expect. He blocked over 100 shots this season and threw over 150 hits. Not a bad player at all, just maybe not exactly what a lot of Flames fans were expecting to get back. But honestly, I can't hate on the man. He is an extremely, extremely good player for his role, I guess we can say. Is it exactly what we wanted? Not necessarily, but not the worst thing to bring back. If we look at his stats throughout his NHL career here, you know, he has 4 goals in almost 150 games, so do not expect him to be on the score sheet. He's kind of like Chris Tanev in that way, and about 25 points in those games. Do the math, that's what, a point every 6 games or so, something like that. Don't roast me if it's bad, but look at the plus minus there. This guy, you know, it's not great, but he's been on some interesting teams, and there's a chance that, you know, he could be a good player. I see this as a replacement for Zadorov, Tanev, just another actual NHL caliber guy who's big and more of a defensive defenseman, bringing him in. And that's not too bad if we look at some of his facts here. So like I said, he's 23 now, but will turn 24 next month. A good Canadian boy, 6'6", like I said, and almost 230 pounds. So he is big, big, big. You know, out of BC, hopefully it won't be too tough for him to adapt to life in Calgary. And then, of course, grew up in Toronto. But either way, not the worst player here, but again, not exactly what we were expecting, but who knows? He could pan out, and as we kind of really do enter this rebuild now that Markstrom is gone, Ball is a good young guy. He's only signed for next season, but I can't imagine it'll be too expensive to sign him further along than that. There's also the possibility of trading him at the deadline for something. We'll just have to see. I'm done talking about trade rumors. We'll just continue talking about the actual trade. Now, if we look into some opinions going on around here about this return for Calgary, I looked at 2 of the people who I contact the most. The first one here is my best friend. His name's Karsty NZ. No, his name is Karsten. He's just in New Zealand right now. But so this is kind of what I sent him. If it was this year's 10th overall, I'd be happy. But WTF is that. I really wanted the 10th overall pick this upcoming draft, and we didn't get it. We got maybe next year's first overall, or first round pick, I should say, which will most likely be the case, but it won't fall in the top 10, which kind of sucks. I wanted another top 10 pick. And what did Carsey say? He said, couldn't agree more. I know we are always let down when trades are hyped up for weeks, months, but come on, man. Especially at 30% retained, should have got at least another second for retaining that much. Karsty, I couldn't agree with you more on that one. Retaining that much salary and not even getting an extra pick for it, not getting a, you know, top 10 pick out of it, might not even be a high first round pick next season. It really stinks. It really does stink. Now, that's just our opinion. Here was kind of, you know, a bit of a devil's advocate from good old Josh G. That's Josh Goss of Habs Digest. He said, funny, the reactions on different social medias are all over the place. Reddit is convinced this is a great deal for Calgary because they got a first and a D-man for a 34-year-old goalie with a no movement clause. And that's a good way to look at it from kind of an unbiased perspective, a non-Calgary perspective. Look, a lot of people would say, you got a first round pick and a young D-man for an old goalie with a no movement clause. You won this trade. And that's a good way to look at it. I just think for us Flames fans, we were expecting more out of this after all the rumors that have been going around. I kind of think a lot of us did want more. And while it might not be the worst trade of all time, there still will be people going after Conroy's head at this point, saying that we absolutely lost this trade. That was my initial reaction as well, I have to be honest. But after looking into it, it is true. Markstrom's not exactly young, and as good as he is, I think Conroy really probably did take what was best on the table. That being said, what was on the table kind of stinks here, and it stinks a lot. Not as much as me, because we can't really use water here in Calgary and I haven't been showering, but it still kind of stinks. So let's get into, you know, we could have had it all. What we could have had from this trade. What has been rumored for pretty much this whole time. What's been going on. So let's dive into this first round draft order for this season. What do you see there? Calgary's in 9th. We all know that. New Jersey is in 10th. We could have had this 10th overall pick. That is what I think almost all Flames fans would have wanted from this trade, is at least the 10th overall pick this season, because it was rumored that it was on the table, or at least on the trade block, and it just kind of sucks that we did not get this 10th overall pick here. So many people did want it, and it's just unfortunate, really, that the Flames didn't have this. So we could have had it all. We could have been picking 9th and 10th. That being said, there's still a chance that we could acquire one of these top 10 picks in maybe a Rasmus Andersson trade. I think he's really the only guy on the trade block here that is worth a first round pick. We'll have to see, but either way, I think it sucks that we did not get the 10th overall pick here. And there's 2 other names that have come up quite frequently. Well, a third one would be Seamus Casey, a prospect that had been rumored, but 2 that had been, undeniably always in these trade rumors from the New Jersey side to come to Calgary. And the first one, of course, is this man right here, Alexander Holtz. It was rumored or allegedly reported at the time of the trade deadline that he was involved in this trade, and it could have happened. The problem was just that, Murray Edwards nixed the trade because there was salary retention. Great, now we did a trade with salary retention, and we didn't get Alexander Holtz or any good prospects, really. So Holtz might not have had the best season this past season, but he's still a very good prospect, or at least a very good young player, I should say, and he was not involved in this trade. We could have had him a good young forward, and instead, we pick up a young D-man, but he doesn't have quite as much potential as Holtz did, and just knowing that we could have had Holtz at some point in this process, and it went away because Murray Edwards, gosh, I'm not a fan of our owner, Murray Edwards, but he nixed this trade because of salary retention, and then we retained salary anyway and didn't get Holtz. It's a little bit aggravating here. And the other name, of course, is Dawson Mercer. Again, didn't have the best season, but he has shown in the past how good he is. Another extremely talented young man. We could have had a very good forward. Who knows how he could have gelled for the future with guys like Connor Zary, Matt Coronado, Martin Pospisil, etc. And just the value he could have attained from playing with guys like Huberdeau, Backlund, Kadri, the list goes on. But either way, it's disappointing. We could have had it all. We could have had the 10th overall pick. We could have had Alexander Holtz. We could have had Dawson Mercer, and we get none of those things. That's why I'm pretty upset. That's why Craig Conroy right now, if I were to see him, I don't think I'd shake his hand. But at the end of the day, it's not the worst trade possible. I'm underwhelmed. I'm sure most of you are underwhelmed and disappointed. I think that's just how we're going to continue to be until we see what this pick turns into and what kind of player Kevin Ball ends up being for the Calgary Flames. And to get rid of an older goalie for that much, from a non-biased standpoint, is pretty good, but we'll still be disappointed nonetheless. Now let's just hop into the comment of the day to wrap up this video here. And this one has to do with just some initial reactions from this trade. I was at work earlier and I posted, Markstrom has been traded to the Devils. I'll have a video out later kind of thing. And here were a couple of initial reactions here. So the first one, it's BS. It's top 10 protected. We are retaining 30%. That should have made it a reg first round pick. 100% agree with you there. Especially knowing that we could have had a top 10 pick this year if we'd gotten their pick. And then of course our boy Tater Nuts out of Atlanta said, this is an underwhelming return, a protected first round pick next year. I'll take the pick, but I'd hoped for a pick this year. 1,000,000% agree with you there. It is an underwhelming return. I think a lot of Flames fans will be PO'd today. And honestly, that is completely valid. But please let me know down in the comments what your thoughts are on this trade. I have a feeling I know what's coming, but please share your opinions anyway. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe if you like what you saw here today, and have a wonderful rest of your day.